The 11th of April in the Western Pacific, and of course all eyes are on Invest 94W, now a low pressure area, actually according to the Japan Meteorological Agency, located towards the south of Guam. And you can see here on infrared satellite imagery, I know for the untrained eye it looks just kind of like a blob, like somebody kind of threw paint at the wall here, but you do see a bit of circulation if you look closely. Plus the other big key thing here is plenty of convection, especially near that center of circulation. We're getting those colder cloud tops indicating an intensifying storm system. Take a look across the Western Pacific. There's our low pressure area here, just to kind of put you an idea of where we are. Guam is located right about there, so basically due north, and then of course we got our Philippines out here towards the west. Now there's a few things in the broader picture I want you to note before I get into the forecast. First, you got your trough back here towards the north with that cold front attached to it, and a high pressure area located just north of the Philippines. These two are going to play a major role in how this develops going forward. For now, though, one more look at visible satellite imagery, and you can really see those cloud tops flaring up during the heat of daytime here, only a few degrees north of the equator. But the key thing, still continue to organize, and thus the Japan Meteorological Agency has labeled it LPA, low pressure area. Plus, if you want real data, not just what some of the forecasters are saying out here, ASCAT imagery, this is satellite-derived winds, does also show that counterclockwise rotation on the latest polar orbiter satellite pass, also indicating where we have that low pressure area. So the good news, when we get this center of circulation really spinning up, the model data becomes better because you have accurate and better input going into it. This is one reason why hurricane hunters are so useful, especially out in the Atlantic. We don't have them in the Western Pacific, so we have to use things like this satellite data, and we really kind of pull at what we have available, and that's one of the products we have available. So JMA, really easy to tell where that LPA is based on those satellite-derived winds. Here's the key thing, 48 hours out from now, they're also saying, yes, we're going to have a tropical depression. That is the first time any official agency has gone ahead and at least labeled on their weather map here a tropical system. So this is progressing as forecasted. Now, my general thoughts on it, it is going to move towards the north. Eventually, an upper level trough should start to pull it, but going to be buffered by this high pressure over the Philippines. So a recurve scenario more likely today out here in the Philippine Sea between Guam and Luzon. I don't want to take the Philippines completely off the table, though, and you notice on the edge of kind of this cone, I keep them just inside of it because there is some guidance that hints at it kind of going just enough west to have an impact. So even though that recurve scenario looks more likely, don't let your guard down just yet. Hey, by the way, check out the Patreon link down below. I say this in all my updates. Just want to touch on it really quick. If you've been thinking about maybe helping out this YouTube channel, today is definitely a good day to do it. I'm getting closer to getting this weather package, which is just absolutely useful. I'll be able to zoom in on cities. And the key thing, it will be turn and push button. So a lot of these graphics I build via PowerPoint takes me a long time to put them together. That system, it would be boom, 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 record. I could kick out more updates and more useful information for you guys. All right, here's a look at the overall background flow streamline analysis from the University of Wisconsin. Our high pressure and our trough towards the north. Remember, these systems like to flow towards lower heights or lower areas of pressure. There's our low down there. Eventually could pull back towards the north and eventually pull towards that trough. But if this kind of lingers a little bit further towards the east, that's what I'm worried about, pulling this further towards the west. It's a lot of dynamics, a lot of fluid in nature, but you want to know what's going on out here across the Western Pacific before you start taking a look at these models, which are pretty and they can be scary looking. And I've seen a few Facebook groups. There's one on Facebook, if my goodness, they have about 500,000 followers. They are a massive group, but they'll just post something like this and say, look at this, oh my goodness, and scream there's a super typhoon headed towards the Philippines. And you can do that with a still image with no context. But if you loop this through, this actually, the latest GFS run is pulling the storm north. In fact, this is the GFS ensemble. Now, the ensemble is useful because it gives you a degree of uncertainty. But you notice none of the runs within the GFS model even bring it at the Philippines at all. I mean, you could just show that and say, oh, it's close, but really some of them actually pull it closer to Guam. But the key thing is that as this moves towards the north, it lingers here due to a lack of steering flow and eventually pulls it towards the north and northeast. Here's a look at the ECMWF, also that flow further towards the west, but eventually towards the north and northeast as well. So there is still a large degree of instability, of uncertainty, mainly because this lingers down here due to a lack of steering flow. And once it gets moving, that's when we're going to start to see if this turns or not. So a few questions still to be had here. Historically speaking, you would see these storms move into the Philippine Sea, pull north, and recurve. That is the climatology. I keep on going back to climatology because at this point, climatology is very, very useful. The guidance is one thing, but since the guidance is so uncertain, we have to think of a few other ways to kind of make this forecast a little bit better. Recurve scenario more likely tropical storm as well. I really do think that's going to happen, and still early and still uncertain. Those are the main points for the update today. Please subscribe to this channel if you have not already. I know a lot of YouTubers say it, but I truly mean it. It's going to help out a lot. Also follow on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Facebook's probably one of the best places you can write me. And please do take the time to check out that Patreon. As always, though, thanks for watching and stay safe out there.